This is Blind Ham News with stories of interest to blind and visually impaired hams. With today's report, here is Steve Bauer, W0QA.
Well, thanks for joining us for episode number 5 of the Blind Ham News podcast. It's been very interesting to collect stories about call signs and what they mean and how you got them and all of that. And on this episode, I have 3 more call sign stories to share with you.
Hello, I'm Jerry McCoo, W0UH. I was first licensed in 1982 as KA9NSA out of Menominee, Wisconsin, and I took the test to become an amateur extra class in April of 2015. I was wanting a vanity call. We were looking for vanity calls that were pertinent, and one of the calls that we found that was available was W0UH. There was a repeater in my town, St. Joseph, Missouri, and George, when he was alive, was licensed under W0NH and was a trustee of the repeater and of the ham club station. And when George passed away, they kept the call W0NH. And I thought it would be really neat if I had W0UH. Apparently, W0UH call sign has quite a bit of significance. I believe Dan Stenmitz of Longmont, Colorado, had my call. There was another Dan that had that call before he had it. Dan was quite the CW guy, and every once in a while I would work somebody and they would tell me, "Oh, you're quite the CW operator." And I would say, "Well, I appreciate it, but I haven't operated CW at 25 or 30 words a minute." That was Dan. I do operate a lot of CW. I'm in the SKCC club and enjoy it a lot. And I enjoy doing CW marathons. But it's neat to have a call by such a neat ham. He was quite the ham when he was alive. I'm honored to have that call, W0UH, and we have all kinds of funny phonetics that we use. But Dan always called himself Whiskey Zero United Hotel, but I play with the call, and we call ourselves, they call me W0 Usually Hungry or Uncle Henry or something like that. So that is the story of my call sign. Thank you for listening. This is W0UH.
Hi there, my name is Julian. The call is N1CA, November 1, Charlie Alpha. I wanted to make a little contribution here to your collection of stories of my call sign. Basically came to be when I made Extra back in 1998. I had always wanted a 1x2 call. First time I ever heard one of those on the air, I thought, man, that's cool. I got to have one of those someday. If I ever somehow become Extra and they're still available, I want to get one. So fast forward a little bit, and I eventually made Extra, and the Vanity Call Sign program had come into play not too long before that. So there were still some good choices to be had. And I couldn't find any in Six Land, which is where I currently live. So I thought, okay, I got to go with a different region. What can I find that sounds good? And I thought, well, I looked at everything around. I saw N1CA, and I thought, hey, that could work. Because even though it's a one call, it does say where I'm from. So there you go. That's how that call was chosen, because it was 1x2, and at least the suffix of it, even though the number portion didn't tell the story, the suffix tells the person who hears it where I'm from, 7-3, and happy to share this with all of you.
Everyone has a story about their call sign, and now with his story, here is John Glass, NU6P.
Well, thank you very much, Steve. Yes, you're right. We all do have call sign stories, and I was originally licensed as a novice in 1974, and I was issued the call sign WN6FAK. A year later, I upgraded to general, and my prefix changed so that I became WA6FAK, and I kept that call sign until 1983. Well, in 1983, I had my extra, and I decided that it might be kind of fun to get a shorter call sign. And you have to realize that in that year, the vanity call sign program was not available. The FCC had stopped allowing people to request specific call signs in the late 1970s, and that program did not reopen until 1996. However, if you did want to change your call sign when the program wasn't running, you were able to have a sequentially issued call sign in the group that you were eligible for based on your license class. And so since I had the amateur extra license, I was eligible to get a 2x1 call sign. And I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I finally decided that I was going to give it a try. And what caused me to make that decision is the W5YI program, the W5YI group, I think they were actually called at the time. They were keeping track of call signs that the FCC was issuing based on the date that the applicant submitted their application. And you've got to remember that this was before the internet, so all of the applications were submitted on paper. And they said that they were typically able to predict within 6 or 8 call signs what you would get, what you would receive back from the FCC based on the submission date of your application. So what happened here in California in the 6th call district is the FCC accidentally skipped a block of K call signs. I believe it was KW6A through KZ6Z. So they stopped issuing the N calls. They issued up through NT6Z. And then they went back and they picked up this block of missing K call signs and issued those. And the rumor that the W5YI group had heard was that once they finished those K call signs, they were going to start right into the W's with WA6A, WA6B, and so forth, that they weren't going to resume the N's. Well, I thought, gosh, this is the time to apply, because if I can get a WA6 prefix with one letter after it, that would be really neat because of the fact that that was such a popular prefix. So I went ahead and submitted my application at what I thought was going to be the appropriate time. And it turned out that the rumor they had heard wasn't correct. The FCC did resume issuing the N calls. So I got NU6P, but if their rumor had been correct, I would have got WA6P. And that's my call sign story.
Have a story or information to submit for the podcast? Send it by email to blindhamnews@gmail.com or call 662-426-6397. That's 662-HAM-NEWS. Thanks for your help.
I'm Steve, W0QA, and that's the report this time. I hope you can join me again for another Blind Ham News podcast. 73, and thanks for listening.